Am I late?
No, I just texted you.
Oh, I saw it and I'm like.
No, you're not late.
Okay.
No,
Just something-
I just, sometimes you pop online, so.
You're there.
Um, yeah, I'm good to be here.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. Mary's not.
Thank you for the referral, your friend closed today.
Yeah, they're on schedule.
Any storm damage?
Yeah.
I said a video, I said, I think you had a car.
I had a storm teacher on over there.
Did you? That's 100%.
Yeah.
Well, that's an hour,
Because
they
Sherry got my
take
friend's
full
son.
amount, so it ends up being a real small. No,
That's good.
that's just. She's got the, they got a bigger one with it as well, so the mom ended up using.
He's a really nice
Thousand
guy.
dollars for it.
Yeah, he's good.
Really nice.
That's somebody who's a lot of technical issue.
My kind of client, I'll just tell you that. I really like working with him.
Are we ready?
Let's
Why is this
see, so
26?
official time is 5:29. Oh, here we go.
Woo.
Yeah.
All right, what is this? Let's call the Waukesha Port Authority and Development Agency to order for Tuesday, April 21. Everyone's here, save Mary
And Dave Woodward.
and Mr. Woodward. Any public comments?
They are, I believe, all here for your item counter purchase.
Correct.
Okay,
Very good. So no public comments anywhere. Let's move on to the consent agenda. We have meeting minutes, the special meeting minutes, March financials, Bolton Mink invoice, CGMC travel reimbursement that was Data Capital, Bolton Mink invoice again, 30 in the hood, Gassner Consulting, Valley Publications, Transport Terminal invoice.
that
I
was
did
just
not,
added, yeah, so we should move that out of consent, because if
Okay.
it's at a last minute, I just put it under changes or. So we could put it at 7 and I'll explain that.
Okay. Do it all the way down, directors. All right,
Or after.
New business.
New business.
new business number 6.
Mhm.
All right, and then computer purchase, new updated quote.
That's what we moved, right?
But
Isn't that what we just moved?
mm,
What we moved?
it got changed, so they've got a new quote.
The Wabash Transport Terminal invoice, I think is what they moved.
I didn't even have that on.
I know it's not on there. Yeah, what are you talking about? Well, she just added it. Oh,
Yeah, I've got it on my,
it's the latest one, probably.
So I was right.
So the reason, sorry, we had a miscommunication, that wasn't supposed to go under consent because it was at a last minute,
And it's not on ours.
and
so we
it's not on your prints, so that's why we'll talk about it later. So I don't think we have the changes and additions, but the changes for the requested changes that we can vote on later are adding Wabash Transfer Terminal invoice 510 and adding resolution 04/2026. And for some reason, that's listed as 3, 2. I don't know why that got 3, but those 2 should be at the end.
okay,
So let's just go through all the consent with the old version, and then I'll explain what we're adding and have you guys vote on that.
So 1 through 10, those stay the same?
those stay the same.
The old 1 through 10,
Yeah,
yeah. So the left is 10 in front of you, Port Authority
Yes.
computer
Yes.
purchase.
so those are what we move on for the consent agenda. Motion to approve,
So moved.
but first get a second, any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, passes. Okay, we're gonna
additions or, but I'd like to have you guys make a motion that we add to the agenda Wabash Transport Terminal invoice under new business and resolution 04/2026 under new business.
Number 7.
Wait, motion.
Got a first, we have a second?
Aye.
Got a first, we have a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Post same sign, let's move on. Okay, so no old business, new business.
Do you wanna do the counter property first? since
Sure,
they're here?
let's do
Okay. All right,
Let's move to number 2 under old business, or new business, excuse me, the counter property request. You wanna roll?
go ahead, we got it up.
I'll just introduce this. My name is Sally Becker, and I purchased the counter property 635 Market Street, and this is our team here. This is Tom Gable, he's an engineer and a realtor and good friend of mine and helps us with the design. My husband, Greg Becker, he's very hard worker, helping us a lot of the work. And my friend Grace Anderson, who does the design, helping us with various design ideas. So, and Tom has a PowerPoint. I do want to say that we are just a summation statement. I guess we are here to work with you. I'm very excited to, really excited to have the property. And it's, as you said, when you walk there today, it's breathtaking and gorgeous. We would like to make the best use of the land that as it sits and the view and make it great for people to live and thrive there. And to, not just increase the tax base, but, you know, the living is just, it's an amazing property. So I'm very excited to we can do, especially to join it in with the property down below where it was originally all together. You know, I think you guys know that the Richard's dad had donated that to the city at some point. So it would be wonderful to put it all back together so we can use that to everyone's advantage. So Tom has a PowerPoint for you guys, so thank you.
So anyway, Sally, first approached the property and she first saw what we've affectionately come to describe as the Sears house. Came in a kit form apparently. And so she inquired about that and then subsequently found out that the house and the corner lot were all included in that site. And she contacted Richard in La Crosse, wrote him a letter, and he was apparently struck by it, so he decided to sell it to her. And when she came to me, she said, "What should I do with this thing?" And we subsequently found out that it was in great demand, that there were a lot of people that were looking at it, and that the city had even discussed buying 2 lots that include the Sears house and the one on the corner on Washington and Market. And so if you could go to the next slide, you can see that what we found is that that lot on Main Street seemed to have been truncated a bit. We weren't sure exactly what was going on there. But the idea, of course, is to combine those lots and develop them somehow. As you can see, there's a barrier between the lower lot on Main Street and the lots on Market Street, and that's an alleyway. And you can see how they truncated it and then turned it onto Main Street.
Can I interrupt you 1 second? Since this might be available on Beacon, the city has a different site plan that's slightly larger than what you have here, so, okay.
Yes,
All right.
yes, and that's included in the.
Oh, good, okay.
Yeah, so if you could go to the next slide, then you can see
Okay.
what happens when you overlay the floodplain on those properties, and even the counter property at 635 is touched by the floodplain, and even though it sits about 10 feet higher than the alleyway, is still subject to flood insurance. But the idea, you can see that the darker areas are 3 feet and more below the floodplain. And that means, of course, that if you were to ever do anything with the property, there would have to be some fill put in there. When I first talked, with, Mr. Gassner, I asked him, I said, does infill mean that, you're talking about filling the property with, gravel and fill? And he said, no, it has to do with, properties that are, around the city. Anyway, if we could go to the next slide then, Caroline.
No, it's turned on my end, but then
There
there's
you go.
no like, so,
Okay, so then the city apparently vacated the adjacent property to make a much larger segment there. And this is a contour map, and it also, I believe, includes some of the utility easements that are on the property. And in order to combine it with the counter property, the 3 lots above, there would have to be some of the utilities that would have to be moved around a bit. And property, of course, would have to be resurveyed. Now, I went ahead and did a really rough calculation about what it would take to fill that property up in order to match it with the opposite side, which, by the way, Greg Becker was involved with building that site up when he was with the Army Corps of Engineers.
For the townhomes.
Where the townhomes are across the road.
Correct, across Main Street.
In Lawrence.
And I estimated that it would take between 1,500 and 2,000 yards of fill to bring it up to that level. It's kind of deceiving when you're standing on the counter property, when you look across.
sorry, this is what I was talking about, it like shuts off.
Okay,
Everyone should have a hard copy of the presentation, hopefully nearby. So, it's not on the agenda, it's distributed ahead of time. It's a PowerPoint. No, I don't have. Wow, I don't see many copies of that PowerPoint. Okay. One, can you guys share this one? And then,
Oh, we have one here, right?
of the PowerPoint? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
then you can use this one, Craig.
I got one too.
We
Oh,
all,
you all have one, okay, I'll give it to the mayor, and then I'll try to get technology working again. Do you need a copy
I
of the
do,
PowerPoint?
yes,
Okay, there you go,
thank you.
yes. I'll get it up again.
So what we were looking at was the topo, aerial view, showing the contours of the property. What I did when I was first looking at this, I thought, well, why wouldn't we just duplicate what's across the street, you know? So I cut out some dowels there and pasted them in and tried to avoid that driveway there. And of course, you wouldn't have to use the same footprint. You could go up with duplexes rather than going side by side. But in order to take advantage of the green space, again, these would all have to be surveyed off and made somehow to match.
We got it up on the screen, if that's helpful.
Okay, sure. So if you can move to the next view then, that shows the rough layout, which you can't really see very well, but on the lot adjacent to 635 Market Street is the Sears house. And it's been kind of gone through and over. If you could go to the next two slides, this is it. It looks rough. This house is well over 100 years old. It's on a very solid foundation.
Is it historical?
It has not been designated as historical. My understanding is that the Towner family was pursuing that, but ultimately decided not to spend any money to have it. But the idea is that maybe it could be rebuilt somehow. And when we talked with Dave Woodley, he suggested that we lift it, put a walkout underneath it, and maybe put a garage on the side of it. and try to retain it in as much its original character as possible, even if it's not on the historical registry. And what happened from that conversation is that we started thinking about doing a similar type design on the lower portion at the same time. So if you move to the next one then.
It looks like it's in rough shape, but you said it's better on the inside.
It is, it's structurally very square and it's very solid. There's hardly any moisture on the inside except
Oh.
that comes through the side door there.
Is that the back of it?
That's the back of it. That's the part facing the riverside.
Tom, come on, can I say something?
Sure.
So historically, I don't know if any of you are familiar with Sears Homes. Grace has one in Peppermint, she sold, and they're incredibly well built. It's just crazy. They came in on the railroad. This one's probably, I don't know, 1890, I suppose, close 1900, but everything's square. The roof, I know Jay Anderson over looking some stuff from the house, he goes, look at that roof. He goes, that's a perfect roof, perfect. He goes, the house is just, it's solid, and it's, you go in there, you don't think that's gonna happen. So, we'd also talked about not just doing, exactly like the structure for the walkout, but doing double and giving more living space down below. So now you could have a home that would be for a family. So,
So you're thinking of adding on to that?
not the first floor, but to lift it and do a full,
Probably.
a double, even a double size underneath. So
And that's you can walk up.
a walkout, but then even on the other side, you have, Grace's idea of, well, beyond that, the garage, which you, instead of just a walkout, the same exact, size and shape as that, you do it again. And there's more that you can do, because you're lifting it up and now that'll all be open. And you'd have much more living space, and you could turn that into a family home. While
So-
still keeping that structure
Right,
of the first floor.
exactly. Now that building on the exterior is 615 square feet.
Yes.
So it's tiny. But if you put a walkout underneath it,
With 1,200 square feet.
you'd be 1,200 square feet, which would be livable space, very nice livable space.
Yeah, it's Grace has suggested putting the bedrooms on that structure, and down the basement would be your kitchen, living room, and bathroom areas.
That's a 2-bedroom structure, the way
Yeah.
it sits there right now.
It
Two
really
windows
is,
on
it's
the-
deceiving, you go in there, it's surprising how much room there is.
Yeah.
So, sorry.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this is the view of the counter property, and I kind of cut it off right here because I was trying to demonstrate that even with the shed in the background, and if you wanted to put a drive around the house to the old garage, you could do that. But you could also maintain a decent side yard if you surveyed that site and made it smaller. In effect, taking a corner of it away. So if you go to the next one, please. This is a house in Pepin, Wisconsin, that's going up right now. It's a Wausau home, and it is 1,188 square feet. The cost to build that house without a lot today is $319,000. Okay, that's $268 a square foot for that property right there. I don't know how many markets there are in that price, but I think we can do better than that.
What's that got to do with this property?
Well, what it has to do with this property is that Dave Woodley suggested building 2 properties that were 1,650 square feet, roughly 30 by 55, on that property. So this is what they would look like, and they would sit longitudinal along the length of the existing property. That's what this has to do with the property that we're talking about.
Just for reference, the city sent us a plat that shows 5 30-foot by 60-foot lots on the property on Main Street.
On Main Street?
Yeah. So was that just somebody's idea?
Show me what you're referencing.
Are you referring to Market
Oh,
Street?
that's, Christie had put that together, but that was not considering the topography. So as we're thinking about the topography, she was just like, this is conceptual, but I haven't taken into account the topography, so
Who's
that
Chrissy now?
Christie Trisco. This was,
Okay.
would that be achieved from a planning and zoning perspective? The answer is yes. Can you do it from a topography perspective? That wasn't, she wasn't weighing in, she was just saying,
So this
I was asking, can multiple units be achieved on this, and that's just demonstrating.
Why
it
did you
can
send
be.
it out? I wonder.
Are those houses being planned for Main Street levels?
He's not planning that at all. He's saying this is going up in Pepin. He's telling us how
No,
much
no,
it
he
would
wants
cost.
to build a house like that.
No, he said Dave
No.
Woodley suggested 2 houses like
Oh.
that.
Okay.
That's correct.
So
You
what
know,
are
to
you- what are
be
you
quite
doing?
honest, Craig, I put these agendas together a week in advance or in the deadline. Dave Woodley is meeting with him and having conversations, so I'm getting you all the information I know as of last week. And then they've come here to present this. This was
So
given
you
to
have
me
new
this
ideas
morning.
that you're presenting?
Correct,
Yeah,
that's what the
yeah.
next 2 slides are.
Yeah,
Well, somebody, be nice to know all that stuff.
Well,
We're learning.
follow along.
We're learning as we go.
We're learning as we go.
Yeah,
I'm following along, I get it, I understand what you're trying to do, I understand that that's an example, for that kind of square footage, you think you could do better.
well, and also that Dave Woodley had suggested that that you put up 2 properties like this in that narrow strip between the alleyway
Yeah.
and Main Street.
Yep.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
very familiar with the spot.
Okay, so I'm not speaking out of,
No,
okay, out of
This
school.
is just, I'm just thinking.
I'm just thinking out loud, okay?
Not a
So,
problem.
so if surveying the lots, putting the lots together, moving the utilities and surveying off is not a possibility, well, then you have to live within the bounds that are set for you, correct? I mean, is that?
right, yeah, that you're exactly right.
Okay, so then we said, well, these are not really appealing to me, I don't know about you guys, but this doesn't appeal to me. I'd like to have something in the city that when you look at it, you say, wow, that's really, really nice. And so we started looking at smaller homes, that you could maybe put 4 of them in the same space that Dave was talking about putting 2, and that's the next slide. We were looking at things like this, where, you might, after, infilling the lot, put up these 2-story units. And, it looks somewhat cottagey and somewhat modern, but this one, for example, is 741 square feet, okay? It's livable, it's designed to be livable. Question is, going back to the previous slide, can you build this and make it affordable, right? And then there was one other example that we showed on it, and that's this one. This one's 910 square feet. And it's got a garage included in it, as you can see, underneath the patio. But in any event, we're just saying that you could probably do something like this. We're not sure if we can work through the numbers and make it meet the criteria that you've set out for the infill application or the grants. But we'd like to at least consider that this would be one way that we could develop that piece. What we'll find out as we go forward is whether we can combine the lots, survey off. Dave seemed to think that the utility easements were sacrosanct and you couldn't do anything with them. But I seem to think that you can move fiber optic cables, and you can bury electrical power lines. And that's something that I think we ought to consider as we go forward. Because then you do something more along the lines of what's across the street and upgrade the appearances of them a bit.
How many lots are you thinking down in the lower?
4 of these, 4.
Yeah, 4 is what we thought, simply because it tied out with Dave's total square footage, more or less. And of course, if you're going up 2 levels, you've got a bit more green space in that area. So that's where we're at. We're looking forward coordinating with Mr. Gassner and the Port Authority to see what can come of this. We're not sure. But we're just throwing this,
What size lots are you thinking about?
if you look at the lots across the street, you can see they're very long and narrow, and that's how they met their green space requirement.
And what are you thinking about?
Something in the same vein.
Something
Any
similar.
dimensions offhand?
Well,
If you
That's
do,
why he said they have to be surveyed.
So let me just bring you back to what the agenda item said, which is the action today is, do we wanna give them time to figure this out? It wasn't bringing or accepting a proposal today of a specific plan. They need time to figure it out. So that's what the action item is here, is can we give them time to, do their homework and come back with a site plan?
right, and if you
Yeah.
have suggestions, we're more than willing.
And
to
get
listen
some
to them.
initial feedback as to what you all are looking for. That's the action that I laid out on the agenda summary. Determine if the court wishes to allow Counter Properties LLC time to determine if they can develop on the land that they own in combination with the city-owned lot. Provide X number of months for them to allow them to do the following. And then I've listed a list of things that we would expect that they would have done by the time they are
Correct, thank you
finished.
for stating.
Well, I feel like 2 years ago, we started here, right? We had a company come and talk to us about putting exactly this on that property, and we left it with, now if we can just get the counter property so we can combine, so we can make this all work.
So
Now
this
it's
is
working
exactly
just
where
the
we're at.
right, they're coming back, they've got the property, and so I would think we'd be ridiculous not to give them the time. to try to make
I'm
this
all in,
work.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm just, all this stuff hasn't been presented to the Port Authority as a whole, it may be presented to those of you that are.
No, that's the
on
purpose of
watch.
today.
No, I'm talking
Yeah.
about the last couple, the last time we talked about this, 2
Oh,
years ago,
yeah.
when we went and
That was
visited
at
those, I mean, that's been 2 years ago. We went and visited those tiny homes and,
Yeah, I guess I don't recall that, but you
well, we
may
spent
have.
a lot of
I may
time.
That was with Watch, I think.
So,
Yeah.
I think your homework is good, it's valid, I support the idea of giving them some time to see if they can make this work or not. I
absolutely.
mean, I have no problem taking that that parcel off the list for.
Is there a amount of
Is it
time
not?
you're asking for?
It's not.
No, we,
No.
in fact,
I think she said 9 months, she was thinking.
It's the-
right,
Let's give a,
And that's what I said originally, let's look at some proposals, have a developer come in and give us some proposals as to what they wanna do with that property, and we can go from there, so I'm okay with that. I thought you might have, since you have some pictures and things, I thought you had more details, but that's
and
fine.
quite honestly, we're okay with just the 3 lots that are up on Market Street. We don't need this, to, renovate the Sears house and to upgrade, the counter house and walk
Correct.
away.
Correct.
You can do what you want with that lot if, you think there's something better on the table.
And we can do less with it than we can if it's your land combined with it.
Right. Correct.
I think, if you want my opinion, is I think we give them time. If Jeff, if you wanna say 9 months,
I would like a shorter time. I mean, how much time do you guys think you're gonna need?
Well, nothing's gonna happen in the winter. What is 6 months, what is 9 months, what is that?
It will be sooner than 9 months, but it'd be nice to have the 9 months. We've only had the property a month. And we are trying to clean everything out and sell what we can and do with, there's a lot of stuff in these buildings, so anyway, it would be, the 9 months would be great, but it's not gonna take us that long.
9 months takes you into January, and you just said yourself, you're not gonna do much in the winter, so maybe even by the end of November. If you could figure out.
And what
you could do
exactly
to
do you
propose it.
need by the end of November?
so what we have in the agenda summary is to extend a written offer to the city of Waukesha. Have a site plan, have some architectural plans. Have any security financing, I think we should probably, I think the main things are the site plan. And an offer letter to the city, I think the financing and planning and zoning. I think the utility easements are critical too, that you've had a conversation, so the original list was written offer to the city, site plans, architectural plans. Financing lined up, work with planning and zoning on that site plan and meet on the utility easements. if you feel more comfortable, we could probably take off planning and zoning and possibly financing, but
I would think we'd wanna have an interim meeting before they go to all that expense to develop that, to have an interim meeting and give us, okay, here's our site plan.
okay.
And what we're gonna put on here and where it's gonna go, I think that would be.
Do you guys wanna just come up with a time frame for by when will we have a site plan, but that's gonna be contingent on utilities.
Yeah, that's gonna be a
floodplain.
give and take, of
Yeah.
course. because-
Yeah.
I think they're gonna need, I think you guys are gonna wanna talk, the beauty about all this is this is not a fresh idea, so zoning and planning have thought about this, we've been working on this for years. And so the utilities thing is a quick question. So I think having a conversation with planning and zoning about it, Dr. Christie, our planner.
Right.
She'll be able to shed some light on those easements as well. I don't think it's a stretch to ask for those things all, in a wrapped up summary. You might come back in 2 months from now and say, it's not gonna work, because we can't have utilities.
That's why I think.
So at that point, but then the deal's done. I mean, we don't.
Well, I think if they have an idea of what it's gonna do, I think would behoove everybody if they would come with, here's our preliminary plan. And before you go ahead to final, do the preliminary plan, let us see what it is, we give you the okay, then you can go ahead with the final.
And at what point would you like to offer purchase, you're talking, that would be before November, or?
Yes.
Okay, or in November.
Cause the other thing I wanted to note that you guys should think about is the tier 2 program comes with many restrictions. You guys had another kind of inquiry, would the city just be willing to sell it for $1? I would do some research on, does the grant even make sense for what you wanna build?
Right.
I don't recommend they do sell it for $1, but we could, what we had other developers ask us is, can we pay you back for the land value once the homes sell? And I personally think that might be worth considering, but then you would take the grant funds. The grant funds will come with restrictions on basically who you can sell those units to and how much you can list it for. So I thought back when we looked at those nice tiny homes, they were tiny, but still expensive because of the cost of kitchens and bathrooms and
Because
things
per
like
square
that.
foot, they were still pretty pricey,
Yeah. So,
but they are cute, they're really cute.
I think it's good.
Mhm.
All right, what do you guys?
If we need more time than the 6 months, that's when we would come back. As soon as it's not done yet.
okay.
So if you were thinking 9 months, the end of this year is 8 months, we're only 8 months till the end of the
Maybe
year.
by the end of the
So
year.
why don't we just say to the end of the calendar year?
That would
Sound
Okay.
reasonable?
Yeah.
I think that makes sense.
Yes.
And if you don't get every checklist item done, I think that's fine. I think the main thing is your project doable is the main question.
Then we'll know going into 2027, is this what's gonna happen there or not? And to John's point, you may know in a few months that you wanna call it off and come back to us and say, we've got enough information to know this isn't feasible, we're not interested in purchasing land.
I think the general consensus is we support the idea.
Great.
Appreciate it.
Sorry.
I think tonight opened the line of communication too, so
Better start
as you
somewhere,
move
just
forward,
start.
yeah, as we move forward, if there are things that come up, know how to get a hold of Caroline, you know how to get a hold of me, anybody on this board you can talk to, and like Dave Woodley, as you already have, so, I think as there are signs one way or another, just staying in communication, I think, is the key.
Very good.
Thanks for your time.
Alright, thank
Excellent,
you
thank you.
for
Yep, well,
your
Thank you.
ideas.
Thank you.
all right, so we go to number 1. This is, you wanna go?
You guys don't have to stay for this. You don't have to.
Enjoy, yeah, go with beverage on the floor.
Yeah, go enjoy the weather, our meetings aren't that exciting.
So Mike Burke, Barn Dogglers is requesting $55,000 for a residential infill grant to build a home at the corner of Milligan and Hiawatha. his application is included, the offer is included. I think we originally came up with like a $30,000 list price, and he's offering 25,000. I will say we have had that lot listed for quite some time and got other offers that we're interested in. So personally, I have no issue with the $25,000 cost. We have $8,000 in utility lines that we would pay off. And then it was suggested recently, we put the money into the capital improvement budget. I think that the city of Wabasha probably has to accept and discuss the offer because they own the land, but we'd look for, a recommendation from you, and then his offer is contingent on the tier 2 grant, so. He was not able to attend today. He asked and noted that his final designs, might change when he starts paying for an architect, but he was also, and we're gonna hear this, didn't wanna invest in an architect because this project can't happen without the funds. So he gave a concept which he would present to his architect, but then they'd have to kind of lay that out on the site. So I just said if he had significant changes, you could bring that back to the board, but we could probably approve the grant. He plans to start this October. He understands the AMI, and that would be done as like a seller discount at closing. So we understand him to list the home as what it was valued at, and then to meet our target price, that would be done with a seller discount in the closing document. So Chris was able to review this application and recommends approval. I've spoken to him several times. So Chris, any other comments based on your review of the application?
Nope, we also have the simple scoring format. It scored 10 points, which is the same as the Shoaling project did.
This is exactly what we've been looking for, so I just move to approve. Get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Got a motion, got a second, anybody? Second, any further discussion on this? We're good at 25,000.
I just want to add that the assessed value of this property is $0 right now. We are collecting 0 taxes on it.
So is it
Fronting on Milligan, yeah.
Any further discussion? We have a first and second, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Okay, and then Chris is handling all the contact with the applications and getting the loans and stuff together. So grateful for help that way.
Okay, so now we're not,
You can move the resolution last.
okay, so we're gonna do grant application, is that our next? So we're gonna do grant application for master planning for the old athletic field.
Okay. So developments with the Highway 60 project are that Chris and I met with MPCA, and Kathy and Chris both got us a grant to start doing more environmental investigation for the non-highway part of the old athletic field and also mosquito field. The nice part about that grant is MPCA will directly pay Broad Intertech, and money doesn't have to be flowing through the city or tracked that way. Last week, council weighed in on the designs of the sidewalks and trails for the old athletic field. We have a gap in funding for the utility replacement costs under Grant Boulevard, but we're working on that. But then, you know, what I was thinking and did a little bit of research on is that I do think we should have a discussion on if it makes sense to do some additional, apply for grants on additional master planning for the site. So for example, we've discussed a joint municipal building at that site, or an ambulance building over there, and that needs a spot. The city has an idea of the spot, but that's not necessarily been put in the plan that was created back in 2021 for the site.
This has the old alignment that they
Sorry.
proposed back then, and the new alignment, the last. I
Yeah,
saw,
it looks different.
Looks like
Yeah,
you're gonna tee in the Hiawatha.
the other things that I think we're missing is like you've got 2 letters of interest for a coffee shop, so, you know, so I think what I was thinking it might be good in July to apply for the small towns grant, and I think Chris has said that he can lead and be willing to help work on and contribute an in-kind or $4 towards community engagement. But I do think it would behoove us to hire and have funds available for an engineering, architectural, planner kind of team to look at all of what we're learning and put in, a plan for how we wanna
Start
sell
building
these
the idea.
parcels and what goes where. So in the agenda summary, I thought, here's some things we might be benefit of, or a developable area diagram, conceptual land use plan with zoning and acreage. I looked at, how the St. Paul Port Authority had done theirs, and and so we know that we need to do more environmental work to come up with a plan. But this is a lot bigger than ours, so we kind of have the beginnings of this, but not really anything that would be parcels we could sell with acreage, and I do think it's important to do some community engagement. I think everyone likes this plan, but it was, developed back in 2021, and we should, cause like, for example, when I've talked to developers, people mostly aren't excited about combined residential and commercial uses in one building. My experience working with developers is they want the standalone drive-through coffee or the standalone commercial building, not necessarily combined. So this talks a lot about mixed use, and I'm unclear, does that mean it's commercial or residential? Or we're thinking of like something you would see in St. Paul where it's ground floor, commercial and residential above. I don't know that that makes sense for Wabasha. So I think sometimes in these master planning, there's also a market component where you pay a consultant to say what's market demand out there. So it's tough because we have this concept out there, so we have the start, so we don't want to pay somebody to redo all of this, but I'm just wondering if it's time to take a look at this and pay somebody to look in, okay, how do we make this, how do we
Actualize it,
sell
yeah.
sell these parcels, or,
Well, I think,
You
I think we're exactly where this is where we're at now. We've kind of have an understanding of the environmental issues. We've kind of have a mapping of the road now, which is quite different than that original design. So, and we're ready to essentially pull the trigger on the road. So this is, we're
We're
there,
still going with a roundabout on one end,
two ends,
two ends.
two ends. So I think we are here now. This is where we need to be, right?
Yeah. Other questions that might be answered in a master plan is, do we want design standards for it so that things, and this is the other thing I read, developers wanna know what's getting built around them. No one wants to be the first one in and know that you could have a storage container unless we have the zoning in place and have the plan. I think it's gonna be hard, other than maybe the city, to ask private investment. They wanna know, what can I expect from my future neighbors, and what's the plan? And then talk about what's our stormwater plan for the site, and how are we gonna meet the shoreline overlay requirements? What kind of massing and building height are we gonna allow? You know, are we
You have to
saying,
also conduct
yeah,
pedestrian traffic from up on Sixth Street, Seventh Street, there's a lot of pedestrian traffic walks down there, has to get over to the grocery store, so how are you gonna do that? So I see you've got some plans here, but you may wanna think about that a little bit.
okay. Well, so I'm not sure, I think we have to spend some time on an RFP, but I think the action I put was, it has to be for collaborative initiatives, which makes it difficult, but I think if we are willing to engage the community again on these plans and get input, you can call it a collaboration. If it's just the Port Authority directing what goes there, it's hard to make that case. So, I don't know, what are thoughts on additional community engagement on the site? Chris, you were gonna say something?
Well, I was just gonna say, I think, based on, like John said, where we are now, and then with the grant from MPCA to have some further environmental work done on the area that's outside of the road development. To Caroline's point, once we know what areas we're not gonna touch and aren't gonna be built on, and what areas we want to be built on, having this master planning done so that we can kind of get a concept out of what the community would like to see that area look like. We've talked a couple of times about it. I think going into a meeting like that with no
Mistake.
is tough.
Yeah.
Because if you have 100 people at that meeting, there's 100 different ideas of what that should look like. I mean, naturally. Whereas if you had some of that work done with the information that we've gathered and came up with 3 concepts that said, would you like to look like this, like this, like this, and kind of take a vote of the input session, the vote could end up being, we don't like any of them, go back to the drawing table. And that's a
And then
fair thing
other
to have.
comments too.
So are we
Yeah.
agreed that we're gonna have residential in the old athletic field?
That's what we've been talking about.
That's what we're
Yeah.
talking about, yeah.
And are we agreed we're gonna have commercial?
We've been talking about that too.
So I think this is, and so Craig, this is exactly to this whole conversation. We need some help developing some ideas about how to mix those uses. Now, certainly since we know where we hopefully can build and can't build based on contamination, cost remediation, all that kind of stuff. So if we do get someone in, do an RFP, get someone in to start that master plan concept.
And I think we all like this plan,
Oh,
but it
sure.
doesn't include the current roundabouts. It's not overlaid by where the contamination is. And then it has not been taken back to the public and said, City of Waukesha, do you like the idea of residential in the old athletic field? And I would just call this commercial instead of multifamily personally, because we welcome multifamily, but I just can anyone imagine like ground floor commercial and upper apartments in Waukesha? I mean, yeah.
I don't know, Waukesha could be out there a lot alike.
So I just don't like that mixed use terminology, cause I just had this moment, like, we want mixed use, and the developers were like, no. Like, they could have done it at the downtown if the market demanded that, and they said, no, we don't wanna do both, so.
So
Yeah.
what we need to do is find some funding and
Yeah.
do an RFP.
Yeah, and I wonder, I think we might have to just right size this plan for what we have money for. So I think if there's about 10,000 in small town grant available, I think we could list out maybe how we would provide our staff time and add and show match that way, but I think we probably, and then CompTIA, is that available, Chris? Okay, so we think we could maybe put together, and we could ask WKF, I think we could put together like maybe 15,000, and we'll have to somehow just say, like, we've got 15,000. We've got this current plan, we've got a lot of work, what could you do? Cause I think what they tell us is the most expensive is to bring consultants in to do meeting. So if we do the invitations and we just say, come for an hour to our community meeting.
What are you thinking about the timeline? Are you thinking that we're gonna do the road first and then the whatever buildings afterwards?
Yeah, yeah, we have to.
would I like to get in an ideal world, a head start on the plat and where the boxes go with the information we have right now? That was the goal of this, is we feel like we've got enough information to apply for a grant in July to maybe think about starting master planning work in fall or 2027.
You just need to go ahead.
Mayor, did you have any comments on this concept of how we kind of take what our 2020, it's the 2021 concept, right? 2019 concept and bring it forward to what we know today
got
as
this for
professionals?
free. We got this for free, which was really awesome. It's served us well, but it's gotta be, obviously, as Craig said, gotta be updated.
Yeah, no. And I like the idea of presenting some ideas rather than letting ideas help spawn.
I think it'll be more
We
constructive.
discussed,
Yeah.
Chris suggested, we don't think we'll get grants unless we talk about community engagement and stuff, and Chris has suggested if we can do some work ahead of time to bring 3 concepts that people discuss versus a blank slate, and then I know we're gonna hear about the marina, and I think we have to take those comments and maybe educate, but yeah, maybe.
If you're scratching your head about what you're gonna propose, Chris wasn't here, but I'm sure you've seen something similar. When the Parks and Trails plan was given for the public to give feedback to, it was done sort of a celebratory way at a Septoberfest event. And there were boards, and I thought that was really productive. People were in a great mood. It wasn't a complaint session. It was people were thinking, oh, this is what could be. And I thought Bolton did a good job with that.
I like it to be in like a semi-draft form to allow that engagement to be meaningful, not like we've got the plan and then we toss out all the comments, but I think we did that with the parks, is try to take them, those ideas, and still incorporate them, but. Yeah.
So my one question, I mean, I think, an important piece of this is the environmental, so what's under the ground. Is for somebody to come and say, hey, we're gonna build it, or we're gonna suggest that an apartment building is built there, or a store is built, they have to know what's under the ground before anybody can make that decision, so. If we apply, what's that, yeah, if we apply well, not all of them, that's what this grant is going to do, some of those in the areas that we haven't tested yet.
Which are where the housing is going.
Basically, yeah.
Well, that's just it, Craig, we don't know where the housing would go, so it kind of gets driven off of what those borings say. We might come to realize that we don't want to do any remediation along the slough at all, up to a certain, we want to leave that all green space because we don't need to do any remediation in green space. We might come to realize that there's only a little bit of remediation and we can build multi-family unit homes or whatever, kind of across from Allegheny, like it shows there. We don't know that until we get those more defined.
I have that in a graph somewhere, I can look it up, but.
So if we apply in July, I'm just wondering what the timeline is for when those dollars have to be spent.
That's a good point.
If it's by the end of this year, I mean, we should ask Braun if we're going to have information that planner can utilize to do that by the end of this year. If it's by July of next year, hopefully we'll have that, but you know what I mean, right at that moment, so. That's my only hesitation, I agree with why we need to do this and that we should do this, it's just figuring out the timing of it so that we have really good information to give that person to come up with some really strong concepts to present. As far as the community goes, as far as the community engagement, both in terms of comprehensive planning, I've done, you know, very similar concepts to what you were just talking about through comprehensive planning in communities, and also on a smaller scale, I was on the Marina Board in Lake City when they redeveloped the Marina building there, and that's exactly how they did that too, is they had 3 concepts, they had a celebration around the marina and brought the community in to kind of say, hey, here are 3 concepts for this new building that's gonna become a part of this very visible spot in your community, what would you like it to look like? And there was input and there were suggestions, but there also was a lot of just people sticking dots, like, we think this one looks the coolest, or, you know, tell us about what the inside of this is gonna look like, and it was much more a celebration of what's to come as opposed to a complaint about what's changing. So I agree with you, that's the way to do it.
Okay, so I think it'll be. Yeah, application last year opened in July and awards are made in October, so I'm assuming
We should be,
if
We
it's
should be
12
good.
months, it would have to be completed by the following October.
Yeah,
I think like, Emily, I think they're getting preliminary designs done and those aren't gonna change significantly the footprint of the roadway. So I don't feel concerned that the roadway footprint will change, so. So I think something that we'll wanna work on is what are things Chris feels comfortable taking the lead on. And then what we wanna bring in architect, planner, engineer, landscape architect team to decide on, so. Or provide ideas. Okay,
all right,
alright,
we don't need a
so,
motion, just, that's the go, right?
okay, yeah,
So the next item on here, is the project site banner.
yes.
we have been invited to, put a site banner on the apartment building site, as a partner. Caroline had me reach out to Brian Breeze and have him put together a concept of what that would look like and get some pricing. I can pass this around, he got this back to me today. The pricing he has on there, the city of Wabasha banner behind John is 4x8. So for a banner 4x8 that size would be $100 plus $15 in shipping. If we went a little bit smaller, 3x6, it would be $75 plus $15 in shipping. As Carolyn and I discussed it, we don't want it to be bigger than the company's banner that's on there. Their banner is 5x10.
I was gonna say 3x6 is pretty small for
Yeah.
that site.
Yeah, and so I would say Brian suggests the 4x8.
Yeah, I would agree with Ryan.
Well, as long as you're putting up a banner, what I usually see on building sites is they have a picture of the building that's gonna be there.
Sorry,
They-
that's already up
That's what the company
The company has that,
out
there
now?
yes.
has. So they're just saying they're inviting us to put one there.
As partners in the project,
The one that's there does show the building, what it will look like.
Okay.
I think it's a great idea.
and these are reasonable, we're hoping they're reasonable, barring major weather events, but,
So having lived with banners and chain link fences, do we mount this on a sheet of plywood and then mount it to the chain link fence?
Probably a better idea.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say about the banner that's out there now, it's a site, it blocks the site, so you have to creep out, if you're coming down Allegheny, you've got to get out into the travel lane of Second Street before you can see around that banner.
We have some visibility requirements through planning, does that, I wouldn't know if that would impact it.
Yeah, plywood bush, it might, yeah.
Yeah, I don't, they don't have to be on a corner exactly, you can put them on, right on Allegheny in the middle of the lot on Allegheny and everybody could see it then. I don't think you'd have to block the site distance. You could see through the chain link fence, but not when there's a banner.
Mhm.
All right, well, let's circle back. Do we wanna do a banner? All in favor, or?
Yeah, we should do a
Motion to
banner.
approve?
I mean, we should, we're partnering with them.
Yeah, right? So we have a motion to approve,
I'll make a motion to get a banner.
second. All in favor of the banner?
Aye.
Post same sign. Okay, so now, Chris, when you put the banner, when you talk about, we see about positioning and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes,
Okay, now we're going to resolution for
Okay.
joint port authority watch meeting, I don't know, that's kind of other. What do you have on your list is next?
That's what's on the next.
yep,
Joint meeting.
joint meeting on May
Okay.
6th. Is that okay with everybody?
Yeah, 11 AM?
Yeah.
Yeah.
every time.
11 AM.
So, Chris.
And then when we were on the phone with the MPCA, they told us that Alexandria, Albert Lee, I get my A's mixed up, Albert Lee has a site that they've been trying to develop for 20 years with a bunch of contamination. And that they had some lessons learned, so we didn't wanna combine it with Todd's because we wanted to have those separate conversations, but I've asked Chris to also reach out to them to see if a couple of us would wanna get on a call or have them be on a call during a meeting to share lessons learned from that project. But one of the takeaways was they spent many, many years waiting for someone to master develop all
Wait,
20 acres.
forgive me, did you say Albert Lee?
Albert Lee, yeah,
Yeah, the butter factory. The dairy factory.
Yeah.
Okay,
Phenomenal site, but it's bad contaminated. This
Okay,
what we
this
have
one-
is
that's
not.
bad, okay.
Yeah.
Well, one of their lessons was they waited a long time for a master developer to come in and just handle the development. And their conclusion was, we need to divide this into parcels and the port
Is the
or
developer.
economic development agency is the developer. So I think we're still moving in that direction with the master plan, that this gives a document that then Chris and I can market to people, or Chris specifically, market to developers who say, I wanna build a coffee shop. Okay, here's where we've got commercial identified on the master plan. We had some conversations for our master developer. But I think that's tough, you're basically paying someone to sell those parcels.
we had the same conversations on the I-90 site in St. Charles. We waited for about a year to find somebody to come in and develop that whole site. It didn't come, so we just got tired of waiting
Start parceling it out.
and yelled.
But this is Todd, city administrator from,
St. Peter.
St. Peter.
St. Peter.
Yep.
Who, would join us
Yeah.
to talk about what they've done.
When we do that meeting here,
Yes, or, stupid, these TVs aren't consistently working, but, could we do it in the conference room? Would you guys be okay with that? That consistently works for me.
and it's big enough in there,
Cause
because that's what I was worried about my office. Is it
gets
big enough?
warm in there, but I think it could fit all of us.
Well, let's plan on it being at City Hall and then we'll figure out, I'll send out an RSVP kind of just to figure out how many people are coming.
Show up.
Alright,
I think we need at least, I think we should call it a workshop, and then I don't know that quorum matters for a workshop as long as we notice it, so,
And less watched, right, some of our local folks who join by Zoom.
yeah.
right,
Yeah, I can take the time to zoom in.
Yeah, so we'll notice that as a joint workshop meeting.
okay.
Okay, so now we're gonna circle back to number 2, the,
Resolution.
no, the pay invoice for barge terminal, where I've lost it already. Oh, terminal invoice 510, I don't think anybody's got it in front of them.
We don't.
Yeah,
It's right up there on the screen right now.
this is the one that we always have you approve and then make it contingent on Army Corps paying us this amount plus our admin fee, and then we pay the Coners, so.
Can you read the numbers for those of us that can't see?
$670,704. The rate that they apply is $12.56 per cubic yard, that's approved by you guys. And they have moved 53,400 cubic yards of sand. So just as a background, we have a partnership with the Army Corps and we've not been able to build our barge terminal yet along the river. But in the meantime, the Army Corps has been paying the city, which then partners with the Coners to move sand off the pit to the Coner pit. So it's a trucking operation. After this is completed, there won't be really any more sand left, which is why we're kind of definitely focused on making sure our Riverside operations gets going hopefully next year at the latest. Because this work is done till they pump more sand into that pit, so they've got a pipe there that they've been waiting for it to be delivered for a very long time, so it hasn't filled up yet, but.
So we have a motion to approve.
So the Army Corps pays us this plus our tipping fee.
So moved.
The first, get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Pose same sign. All right, so now we have a resolution that we have to take care of. This is in respect to tier 2. Support, the resolution supporting and certifying compliance with tier 2 program requirements for market rate rental housing development projects. Who has it in front of them?
Yep, specifically, we approved with some contingencies, the Showman project at our last meeting, that is a market rate rental project. Carolyn and I still are working with the state to get our final grant agreement. They've sent us a little bit of additional information now. One of the things that they said was we needed to pass a resolution that certifies the things that are listed there are in actuality the case, has to be certified. We also, Caroline had put together a certification form way back when. It's redundant to that, but they need it. So that's the
That's what this
resolution
is.
you have in front of you. Yeah.
Questions with respect to the resolution before you?
Just a note on the vacancy rate, we don't have any official vacancy rates for rental housing, but we can say with confidence, it's definitely gotta be less than 5%, because we rarely see anything available for rent in Wabasha. Yeah, that's the rest of it.
Motion to adopt. So,
second,
first and second, any further discussion with respect to this? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Pose same sign. Okay, director's report.
Another month with a number of meetings, but I think most notably, we had our open house for the apartment project, which we had a beautiful day for. I thought it was really well attended and thought it went really well. Carolyn and I also met with the federal EDA about some available funding due to some disaster declarations from years past. We were looking at it in regards to the highway project. The EDA staff basically shot that down almost instantly. We changed gears a little bit and looked at it in terms of the wastewater treatment plant, with regard to some upgrades there, and those were gonna be too expensive to make the grant really useful based on the funding that they thought we'd be eligible for. So at this time, that's kind of on the back burner. If we can figure out a way that that funding can tie into some of the projects that we're looking at, we'll do that, but I don't see that. One of the things I wanted to note is I had a couple of conversations with most specifically California Mobile about some things they were upset about, and I thought that the process of being able to have a connection with the businesses helped us as staff kind of diffuse that situation and move it forward, I think, very productively. So, you know, I think continuing to increase visibility with the business community here pays dividends, not only in terms of projects moving forward and projects being like buildings and things like that, but also in terms of navigating the relationships, especially with some of our larger employers. So I'm excited to keep getting to know people.
Was that a planning and zoning issue? Okay.
We can talk about it, it was a utility issue, where, we need them to, they have the old
Fish
fish
factory, yeah.
factory, and they are 1 to 2 times a week processing, dog food material, and, they were putting the remnants of that dog material down the drain that was impacting residents on the west side. We made them aware that they cannot put said material down the drain, and it was causing issues. Dusty got on it right away, and then it was kind of a back and forth with what is the solution. And so Bolton and Make had kind of recommended a pretty formal agreement with fines in place if it were occurring again. They felt like that was, I don't know, too aggressive, formal, and so I'm still waiting that Dusty gives me something in writing, but the $2,000 fines that are in place if you illegally dump into our sewer system are written in code. So we kind of agreed, we don't need them to sign that, but we all wanted a meeting, making sure that they're aware that you can't do that. And if we have evidence that you do that, it's a fine. They were also concerned they would get blamed for smells that weren't their fault, and we have a way because a sewer line dead ends in front of their plant. So anyways, it was kind of where we're holding businesses to a standard, and sometimes I get it, it feels like we don't appreciate them as a business. So we looked at this grant to determine, could we build a solution so they could dump their dog food waste into our plant, and Brian gave us like a $15 to $30 million cost. So
The USDA one, they're very excited to give us 2 of
Yeah,
that.
EDA,
EDA is very excited to give us $2 million to do that, so I don't know.
That's right, that's how that played out, yeah.
But the benefit is that I think Chris should continue to just proactively meet with businesses so that they have a concern and they felt like myself or Pat or whoever is being unfair, they can go to him and he can broker a conversation and or just be a listening ear to understand their side of things, so, yeah.
Over the last few years, there's no denial that the community understands more about what the Port Authority does, and it's just doing things like that that helps that.
Yeah.
So I thought that, not to say that, I thought there was like holding tanks there.
Yeah.
Those holding tanks,
work for it,
were overflowing, I think, and
I
So
see.
they need to have them pumped.
yeah, and they needed to have them pumped, and there was an issue where they hadn't been pumped for a while. It was a combination of,
Okay,
it wasn't working for them with that setup, and they figured out a different way to do it.
so now they're bypassing those tanks.
Oh,
Because they don't work.
That's gonna put the sewer plant's gonna be out of spec pretty soon.
No, that's the point, they
That's the
can't do
thing.
that, they have to handle their own waste. And
Yeah.
so we,
They're bypassing those tanks and putting it in a different tank that's set up for their.
this kind of material versus
Correct.
the fish factory material.
Correct,
Got it.
so it's not getting dumped directly into the sewer
anymore.
anymore.
Tomorrow, okay.
can't happen. So,
Okay,
good cop, me, bad cop, me, I don't know, good cop, Chris.
Emma,
Alright,
okay, so next on the agenda is administrator's report.
okay, I think the only thing I wanna highlight is that, Mayor Durand is going to be testifying in front of the Transportation Committee tomorrow. So I'm gonna probably listen on YouTube, or wherever they call it.
2 hours during time.
But more importantly, we had a good meeting with VinDOT and Dietrich to say, we are confident in this bonding money coming through. We went to the Capitol and had a very disappointing conversation with Representative Pam Altendorf, because the leadership for the bonding is saying we need our representative to say verbally, I will vote for the bonding bill. There, in order for our project to get on the bonding list, and that is not something they are willing to do. So we just got back with our team to say, assuming no bonding money comes through, how do we accomplish the project? And, we have some ideas. Still, bonding is our best path forward, but we just strategized on some funding. So then when M presents tomorrow, even though it's gonna be funding directed towards the highway, we have a strategy now to use some county money to go towards our utility replacement. So the county funding that will contribute to the project, 450,000 of it will be flexible. So anyways, I thought it was just like a good strategy meeting. On the barge terminal, we have extended the barge terminal deadline to April 28th. That was requested by one of the bidders. I'm also understanding from Brian, so far the bidders are not enthusiastic about making that site available September 1, 2026 for the Coners. And we might potentially see some pretty high prices into the total bid amount if that is a requirement. So that's some feedback he's gotten. We're asking, tell us the cost, but as you recall, we had a discussion to say, tell us the cost if we require you to be off the site by September 1, 2026, so we can move forward with our operations. So far, that's not looking favorable from the bidder. So I'm definitely glad that we put it as a bid alternate. If we would have required it, I think it would have been a tough sell. He said he's heard from 3 to 4 companies. I can't remember if it's 4 or 3, but it looks like we should get at least 3 bids, which is good. And the DNR is reviewing the muscle relocation in Deguna. Thinks the earliest they can start is mid-May, depending on water flow. So.
Flow is low right now.
Here's some low. Nice. Stays that way. National Legal Center watch update. Ms. Walden.
Well, watch not much, because we've kept our meetings on the schedule for the first Wednesday of the month. But we've decided that we'll just use that as kind of a placeholder and then only have a meeting if we have something. So last month it would happen to fall on the groundbreaking at the apartment. So that was fun because most everybody was there. It's a really good turnout, really good day. And as far as the Eagle Center, if any of you haven't yet had the opportunity to meet Michael Smith, our new director, I would recommend that you try to go to the coffee meetup, which is on May 7th at the Anderson House at 8 o'clock, because he's going to present. He has come into this role with a ton of energy and has hit the ground running. He is super enthusiastic. He has been thinking outside the box, creating new relationships with local businesses. The expansion project will officially start in 27, the next phase. Really liking him and welcoming him, so things are going very well.
Good.
And I did include admission numbers on the attachment. And I think when I read the admission numbers, it just reminds me, they bring a lot of people to town.
Yeah.
In 2024, which was supposedly maybe a slower year, it was still 50,000 admissions that came to the Eagle Center. And from July through April, total 37,000, but they anticipate it's gonna exceed by the end of June, the 50,000 total.
Those are paid admissions.
Correct.
But, yeah,
Those are paid admissions, so there's talk that they bring a lot of other people who don't pay admission, come to whatever event is there.
oh, okay.
Local option sales tax, 50,000 people. every year.
Well, it's good for the rest of the shops.
Well, we
Yeah,
have to,
great.
I'm just, one of the things that we were after at the Capitol, was, supported by local option sales tax, and, we got shut down pretty quick by our representatives. So, that was amazing.
Did my mom, like, was my mom's like,
It was amazing. Anything else?
No, so May sixth, I've asked Tyler to send everyone an invite. You can also have it by Zoom if some of you just have to be at a work job and wanna attend remotely. And Tyson, is it your first meeting?
No.
No,
February and then this March.
okay, sorry, losing track. But happy second meeting, so.
Okay, anything else? Hearing none, move to adjourn. A second,
So moved.
all in favor?
I.
All citizen, very good. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.